Welcome, everybody, to the Real Dealz podcast, one of the top real estate investing podcasts on iTunes for the last 7 years. This is the place to be for investing strategies you can actually use, expert interviews, and, of course, some good old-fashioned entertainment. Now, here's your new hosts, Elliott Smith and Cole Rudd Johnson.
What's going on, Real Dealz podcast listeners? Elliott and Cole back on the mic this week. We told you last week we interviewed a couple guys, so we got an episode we did last week with some great guys out of Tempe, Arizona, Matt Manoogian and Mark McIntyre. They were awesome, dude. They, the cool thing about last week's podcast that we were doing with these guys, they've been around for a long time. All the guys we interviewed. So these guys, were doing this pre-2008. They had ran up, done really well separately. They were both separate. They weren't partners at that time. Mac talks about going busted in 2008 with having some land development stuff and really hitting rock bottom. And then how he built it all back better, built it back, a different business, but built it back better. Matt talks about his some of the stuff he was doing. They were doing a bunch of rentals pre-2008. They were doing a bunch of sub-twos. And just how that they were focused on, weren't focused on cash flow. They were focused on appreciation and really talking about how that hurt them going in that time. So, dude, Cole, I think it was a great show, man. What did you get away from it?
Man, it was an awesome show. We had two really good back-to-back shows that day, and this one you can always tell, who's legit and who's really been around by how they talk about money and how they manage their money. Like pre-2008, you could tell, they were a little looser with it. So I loved, they spent a good 15, 20 minutes of the show talking about how they manage their money now, how, in their flips, they don't take out any money from their flip company. They're reinvesting every single dollar because they're truly, truly locked in on that time freedom and completely having the freedom to do whatever they want. So there's a big difference I see between when we interview guys that are younger, where they're not really talking as much at that level of stuff. Like, we're making a bunch of money now. We haven't been through a crash, versus the guys we interview, who kind of got blindsided in 2008 and had to change how they run the operations and financial side of their business. So I was impressed how those guys broke it down, they have such a successful business and how they still live such modest lives because they're truly locked in on that vision they both have for their future.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that Tucker's podcast, really going to the heart. When Tucker started this podcast, he was always like anti-guru, anti these guys selling you coaching early on and guys that weren't actually in the business, because Tucker had been through the run up with the mortgages. And so you get all these guys, even you and me, Cole, right? We've been very fortunate, but we've been investing in the run up, right? So
since I got into real estate in 2016, dude, we've been in like the greatest economic prosperity time of history. Yeah. And that's been my whole real estate experience. Yeah. So learning from this guy is huge because I think it's just always rainbows and, everyone's buying, money's cheap, and I haven't seen the other side of it. So having guys on like this is huge for myself and other young listeners. I know there's a lot of young listeners that listen to this because they hit me up. And I think it's huge to have guys like this on who have restructured because they know it's not always, rainbows and ponies.
Yeah, there's gonna be ups and downs, and I don't know what a down. I was 18 when the down when 2008 hit, but I was doing other stuff. So I remember the economic crisis, but I didn't really know pain and suffering. Like, these guys, have lost everything, and guys we're talking to have not even lost everything; they've lost more than everything. And so they have a different, they're not the guys. Most of these guys aren't the guys driving Lambos, taking pictures of their private jets, showing off their, $100,000 Rolexes because everything's so easy right now. They're really trying to plan for the future. And so it's just nice because, one thing I can tell you guys, in this world of real estate, the only guarantee is things change. Right? Things are changing right now. It's getting harder to go off market and get direct to seller marketing going and get people to raise their hands with the virus. There's a lot of people in this country that are really hurting. Things change. And they're always going to change. And how do you adapt with them and make sure you have a war chest so you can always adapt and move with the changes?
How many businesses 12 months ago were, high on their horse, successful, And now, no one saw a pandemic coming.
Yeah.
And now they're literally out of business. And I think I saw something today, like 10,000 new small businesses. I don't know if it was in my area. I don't know what the geography was, but are permanently shut down.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's permanent. So yeah, stuff can change really, really quick. So great show for that. Opened my eyes to that big time. I've gotten home this week and really started to think about how we can restructure our stuff to make sure that we're lean enough to move through an uncertain time. And they talked about that too. They talked about how they're lean, how Mac is still running their sales side. He's still taking seller calls when they're marketing. So there's no shame in that, like, because these guys know that having a big sexy team is cool until it's not, until you get punched in the face.
Exactly. You had that happen. But yeah, I'm just looking at a report from back in September. So as of August 31st, 163,000 businesses have indicated on Yelp that they have closed, and 97, almost 98,000, representing 60% of closed businesses say they won't be reopening. So, everybody looks at it as just business. No, that's a family, that's employees, that's, kids, that's all these things that are affected. And so we're really seeing a shift, and we're seeing a big shift in this market out of the major metros, out of these, quote unquote, high tax liberal cities, going into Nevadas, going into Texas, going into Arizona, going into Florida, all these places. So things are changing, and there's going to be and the nice thing is there's a lot of opportunity. With change, there's opportunity, right? And so you just have to be positioned to make that pivot when there's new opportunities that open up really in your business. So, but if you're too high, living too high, like Cole was saying, and you can't pivot because you have too big of a business, you have too big of an overhead, you're going to ride this all the way to the bottom. So being lean and mean and able to pivot is really important.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that, bigger is not always better, because a lot of times if you get too big, you miss other opportunities because you're so locked in on that one thing. So cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an important lesson. These guys, they broke it down in depth too, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. So Cole, what's going on with you and your business? Shifting gears a little bit. What's going on this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great week. We had a slower November than we would have liked, and it's weird for us. Every November is pretty slow. The past 2 years has been our worst month of the year. This year again, worst month of the year was November. But December's picking back up. We had already this week. We closed on a flip last week on the buy side. We had 58,000 in assignment fees closed this week already. So December's looking like it'll be one of the better months we've had in a long time. Our pipeline's building. We'd have to let a guy go, so we let one sales guy go last week, which is always tough. But yeah, man, I think just end of the year strong. I think so many people wait and they kind of take December off because it's a holiday season, and I think it's a good time to get a jump start on 2021 and make sure that you're rolling. So yeah, on top of that, we're restructuring some stuff. I've sat down with my business partner Mike over the past week and this week since I've been in town. And we've really kind of put together a vision for the future of how we want to, really turn our business into a kind of an investment brokerage where we have, kind of more of a full service shop for people. So it's going good, man. What about you?
Things are going good, I would say. Last Thursday, we haven't closed as many flips as we like this year. It's been a weird year for us. We have, we are closing on rental, our 37th door this week for the year. So we can get into that. But last Friday we had a deal, or Thursday, I got an email that a guy on a flip that I had a half, good chunk of my money in and profits in. The guy lost his job the day before closing. And so that sale failed. Luckily it went pending again within 2 days, but it went. We were hoping to get that profit on 2020 tax return year. Just because, I think just for business wise, I think next year is going to be a lot better. So I'd like to have that on this year. But it just shows that the pandemic's real. We kind of live in our own little bubble. We were in Scottsdale for 3 weeks, and you forget that this is a real thing, that people are hurting and suffering. And so, it sucked for us, but I also really felt bad for them. I couldn't imagine, losing your job the day before you're supposed to buy a house. Lucky for them that it was before they bought their house and not after they bought their house a day. But, I wish them all the best and hope everything goes well for them. So, but then, we're closing. I signed today, took my cashier's check in and signed today on our 8 unit that I've been talking about. So we had that tied up since August. So I've been talking about that. So pretty excited about that deal. It's not a huge, like where we're going to have to fix it up or anything play or, raise rents. It's actually, I kind of look at it as like a treasury bond. It was a 7.5 cap, property. I went and tied the deal up. So I went and tied the deal up at $1,060,000. Had a couple guys that I wanted to, that were interested in buying it with me. I kind of was the principal on this, and I went and found 2 other partners to come bring money in. I ended up putting in, probably the least amount of money for the most part, because I was able to get money because I found the deal. And then I got one of the guys is actually my cousin. He's going to be the one that's going to be managing it because he lives right by the property. And so, but it's going to spin off, good cash flow every month. It's, gross rents around like 8,100, 8,200 a month. So,
it's in a good area, right?
Yeah, it's in a gentrifying area. That's really why I wanted to buy it. So, and we had just bought a duplex down the way. It's in this area right east of the I-5 in Vancouver, where I think it's gentrifying. So really want to buy property in that area. And then we also had a duplex that we bought back in April for $200,000 over there, like 3 streets away. And we bought it, fixed it up. We put $50,000 down. We had one of my private lenders. So he loaned us $150,000 at 10%. Then we went and fixed it up. We're all in at about $270 roughly. So we got about $120 of our own cash in there. I was thinking when we would do it, it would rent for, $1,100-1,200 a side. We got $1,250 each side. And they're just 780 square feet duplexes. And we got it rented right away. And then when I bought it, I thought it would appraise for right around 325 to 340. The appraisal came back in at 395. So we're literally pulling every dollar of cash out, and we're going to cash for like $800 a month. Oh, so, I mean, after payments, taxes, insurance, the whole thing, I think it's like $700-800 a month. So one of my big goals this year was, kind of what Matt had talked about, is buying rentals to cover your expenses. Is one of the goals I had this year was to add $4,000 a month for our family in monthly cash flow. And I killed that goal. We bought 2 duplexes. One of them's cash flowing, the $800 a month. Another one's cash flowing like a little over $1,000 a month. We bought a 24 unit with some partners. We bought the 8 unit. Then we also added a single family that we had lived in for a year, and then we turned that into a rental. So we more than killed our cash flow goals. Chrissy's killing it on the 24 unit. She's turning those over really well. That was about 30% below market rent across the board. So she's getting those fixed up and turned around. So really, once we get, the 24 unit stabilizing, this 8 unit in production, we're technically out of the rat race. Cause we do live cheap. We own our cars cash. We live in a modest home. And so it's like, it's almost a huge weight off your back. And you're like, I can breathe and I can make some decisions and some choices. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. 31 too. Yeah. I'm hoping to get to that place too eventually.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, through COVID, I had a split from my business partner, so I haven't been financeable. So 2021, I should be financeable and be able to start chasing you down on that.
Yeah, I know. I always gotta stay a little bit ahead of you. So then it's freed us up. Now I got to figure out now I've been working with my accountability guys, and we're going to figure out, what the plans are for 2021. I know you're doing putting more content out there since we took this podcast over. We're diving into that world of content. Yeah. I'm trying to add value to guys. We don't have anything to sell. So,
well, actually I kind of started that mindset change to more content once we interviewed, one of our guests from Arizona. I'm not going to say who, because we're putting out his podcast next week. But he completely shifted my perspective on that. So yeah, I'm all in right now. We're just hired a guy, $7,000 a month to run our stuff.
Nice. Yeah. And the cool thing is, I think you and I are both on the same page. it's not that we're trying to go like huge 6-figure multi-million followers. We're trying to get the right followers, right?
Yeah.
We want to get guys like I'm posting live seller calls on my Instagram. I'm posting negotiation hacks. I'm posting like seller stuff. You're going to post, probably more business stuff, your wholesaling stuff, growing that. What are you going for?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not 100% sure yet. So we met with a guy today, a media guy. He's like, you need to ask your audience what they need from you.
Yeah.
Which I think was a huge thing, because when I was like, I want to be the guy that posts stuff that a young Cole would have wanted and needed to see in getting into the game.
Yep.
Not the checks and the flashiness, but more, what is it really like to run a business in real estate? And it's more, there's more shitty days than good days, honestly.
Yeah.
So I just want to be raw and open and real and just put out real stuff that I think, people, not only people get into the game, but just people can actually relate to.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Like I've been super open on multiple podcasts about dealing with, depression, being bipolar, addiction, been suicidal. And it's like everybody, even all the guys I follow, it's, they give really good advice and content, but then there's also, everything looks so good, right? Everything looks so good and easy. And it's like, how do we bring you guys into our family and into our world where we can then, really, you can know, like, and trust us and build that relationship, be like, man, they're struggling too. Not everything's all good all the time. How they get through this, or what are they doing to get through this, or we're all in this together, and really building like that community. I think it'd just be really cool. Not only just for you guys, but for me as well, because, community has helped bring me out of a lot of deep struggles. And so how do we build that community to build a better world, build good reputation in this industry, and just do the right thing. And then also help, if you're our age, you can grow with us, right? And then have those things, work out there, so.
Yep.
But anyway, all right, guys. Well, if you guys haven't, if you got a minute, if you're listening to this on Apple iTunes, we'd love for you to go leave us a rating and a review. Somehow Tucker's rating and reviews got killed by Apple. So if we can get that built back up, that'd be awesome. You can go leave a like on the Facebook page. If you can go like our Instagrams, mine's Elliot Smith, REI. Cole, what's your Instagram, Cole?
It's just at Cole Ruud Johnson, Cole RUUD Johnson.
Cool.
I'm super responsive. Send me a DM and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, same here. I'll respond back to you guys. Also, we're at callmagicleads.com. You can do info@callmagic or go to our website, fill out a form if you're interested in cold calling. And then, if you can help us out with some rating and reviews, love to. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into this week's show with Matt Manoogian and Mark McIntyre.
All right, Real Dealz podcast listeners, I want to talk quickly about our show's sponsor, Ironbridge Lending. If you guys have not reached out to Ironbridge already to talk to them about funding some of your upcoming flip projects, I highly encourage you to do so. I've known the owner of Ironbridge for a very long time. I've personally borrowed millions of dollars from them over the years to do a number of different projects, and I can say without a doubt, they are the best hard money lending company I have ever come across, and that is the reason why they are the sole sponsor of this show. I've had a lot of other companies reach out to me and want to sponsor this show, but I just won't do it. I feel like I need to be genuine in who we have sponsoring the show, and it needs to be somebody that I've personally done a ton of business with. So I personally vouch for their ability to be the best, hands down, in the world of hard money lending. You won't find better programs, you won't find better terms, and they're lending or will be lending in over 20 states. So chances are, if you're hearing this in whatever state you're in, it's definitely worth it to check out their website, reach out to them, see if they're lending in your state, and if they are, I would absolutely encourage you to do business with them. Another very cool thing to note is that they have a program for most rehabs where you can actually borrow up to 90% of the purchase price. Now, this is given the fact that you are actually buying a deal, which if you're listening to the show, that means you probably are. But if you have an actual deal on the table, they'll fund up to 90% of your purchase price, and they'll even give you rehab funds on top of that, which means that it only takes 10% down to get into a project, which is unbelievable in the hard money world. So do yourself a favor, reach out to Ironbridge Lending, have a conversation with them, see if they're a good fit for you and for your next project. I can guarantee you that you'll be happy that you did.
All right, guys, what's going on? Elliot Smith here, Real Dealz podcast with Cole. We got some good guys that I met a couple weeks ago down here in Arizona. They've been doing it for a long time. I got Matt Manoogian and
Manoogian.
Yeah, and then Mark McIntyre. So, guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks, Elliot.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this one. Elliot, back-to-back days, hasn't told me a ton about the guests, so it's fun to learn about who we have on live on the mic. So thanks for coming on.
Right
Yeah.
on.
Cool. All right. You guys hear us good? Everything good on your end?
Yeah, crystal clear here.
Perfect. All right.
Solid here.
So we'll just get into it. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about you each individually, and then we'll kind of talk about how you guys got together and became partner and partner for life.
Right on. I'll roll first. Got a general contracting background. Early 2000s was buying plots of land and entitling them and selling them off to builders, and had things humping pretty good. Rolled through 2005, 2006, and some stuff, but made a couple mistakes along the way and subordinated to some banks on construction loans that we had sold the properties off to builders, and we all know what happened 2007, 2008. So it was an absolute train wreck. Kind of had to hit the reset button, but I, in the interim, I'd got my real estate license. So threw my hat back in the ring and created a short sale team, if you will. We processed a ton of short sales, went out and asked realtors. A lot of them didn't want to touch them. We took them on and kind of reestablished them, and started breaking off some for ourselves. And 2011, I think Matt and I, we were in the same brokerage. Each had our own teams independently, but we had a pretty good vibe together. So we started doing some rental stuff, taking down a couple of these short sales and putting them into a rental portfolio, and that kind of morphed into buying some and fixing and flipping them. About 3 years ago, let me step back a little bit. We were still independent, but doing that piece together. And then about 5 years ago, another guy that was in the brokerage came over. I had left that brokerage, started my own small brokerage. Another guy came over, and we got into the wholesaling space, and hit it pretty hard for a couple of years. And he decided he wanted to get into a little bit of the info sales, and did his thing. And so I didn't have a lot of energy behind that, so kind of pulled back from the wholesaling. And
You got a face for info sales, though, my man. I mean,
yeah.
man, you would be selling the shit out of it. You'd be on stage. You got that face, Yeah.
I don't know. Is that face? Tell my wife that.
Yeah. You got a salesman face.
Right on. Well, anyway, so we rolled into Matt and I just continued doing the fix and flipping. We did some light wholesaling. We combined everything 3 years ago. So our brokerages together, our team is one, fix and flip, buy and hold, wholesale, everything we do is one unit now. So been a good run. I mean, we were both in probably a pretty bad, I don't know exactly where Matt was, but I was in a bad space in 2008, 9, kind of had to start over. But
Was it a back to zero moment, like completely back to zero?
Yeah, completely back to zero. Yeah.
Below zero or at zero?
Yeah, no, below zero, my friend.
Below zero.
Yeah, but it was an absolute train wreck. But it's you kind of lick your wounds, and you get your mind right, and you just say, you know what, it happened. Let's go do it again. Yeah, I guess I'm grateful that it didn't happen to me at 75, 80, man, when the energy was low. So had a chance to do it again.
Yeah. Now, did you have kids at the time?
Yes, had a brand new daughter in 2007. So yeah, it's a little bit of added pressure there, but honestly, it didn't take long once we committed to, all right, we're turning this thing around, and probably a good year of just busting ass and get that momentum going. It's the momentum's a beautiful thing, right? You get it rolling, and then stuff just continues to happen. Stir the pot.
Goes both ways though.
Yeah. Oh, no question. No question. Yeah. No question.
Momentum isn't always positive. Yeah,
a lot of it's about getting your mind right quick, right? I mean, that's the only way you stop that momentum is if you're like, all right, this isn't where I want to go, and how do we turn it?
Cool. All right, Matt, what about you?
Similar, just subtract the construction background. So I went to ASU, graduated in 01, went into commercial finance, helping companies lease property. I always liked finance and sales. So I went right into that for 2 years. And then in late 2003, a friend, older gentleman, he and one other person that was the money behind it, wanted to partner up, and said that he said that the Arizona real estate market's about to explode because the value for the property and the rents that were going on at that time just didn't make sense for just a whole bunch of investors just to come in. So he actually saw it and called it. So 2003, left that job and went to work with him. We started our company there. We were 1/3 partners each. I was the workhorse because I didn't have the connections, the money at that time. So I basically did all the grunt work, which was invaluable in itself, just learning how to grind from the ground up, and something that I had interest in, but didn't know a whole lot about. And so my job was, even though I had taken all my real estate classes, I switched to him right before I actually got my license. So I never got my license. So my job was to go out and find properties at a discount. And I did that. Within the first 2 weeks, I found our source, and we just started buying from that one source. And we became his best client. So he loved us. And at one point in time, we had the fix and flip model, but most of them were for buy and hold. But they're all subject to deals, which for those that don't know what subject to is, we bought it existing to or bought the property with the existing financing attached to it, and just kept them on there. So we didn't really have a whole lot of exposure initially on our own credit reports, right?
Was your source a real estate agent or a wholesaler, or like who was that source that you were getting your deal from?
So it would be a type of wholesaler, I'll say.
Cool.
Yep. Because he was packaging all these deals, and all of them were subject to. And then, but there was a clause in there that the person could buy back the property for X amount of dollars if they wanted to for a certain period of time. So after that period of time, a lot of those subject twos we had to put in our own name if they weren't going to exercise their option, right? So eventually we did have a credit liability and all of that. And most of it, fortunately for me, only one property was under my name, and then the other 69, 70 at the time were under my partner's name. Well, then 2008, 9 hit, 2007, 8, and 9 hit, and we went under in a big way. So we probably had about, of pure equity, we probably had about between 3 and 4 million at that point. And so we divide that by 3, and that was our loss, right? And if we had a lasting model, we may have been able to survive that. But our model wasn't consistent with where it should have been with a cash flow position. Which means, so in my mind, what that means is that regardless of appreciation or depreciation on the actual asset, if you have a good cash flow position. So if we had a better cash flow, then we would have been able to survive the downturn. Meaning that if we had properties that weren't prone to going vacant, right? And so if we had bought in the right areas and had a more solid model, or just a solid model, I should say, we probably could have survived it, but we didn't. And we were banking a lot on appreciation for those investments. And so quickly everything crumbled, went down, and it was a valuable lesson, but it hurt, and it hurt for a few years. So I would say 2008 was probably the worst year for us. And then we dissolved right in that year, the partnership. I retained one property, again, that was at a negative net worth at the time. Plus I had 3 others that were all, only one of them was in a positive equity position, but I still held on to them. And in 2008, I was able to get my real estate license. I did some mortgage loans too. When they started licensing mortgage loans, I just chose to stick with real estate, didn't want to carry 2 licenses at once. In 2010, I met Mac, and that's when 2010 was really the beginning of that positive momentum for me. And then, like he said, it was either 2011 or 2012, we actually created this other entity where we bought and hold, fix and flip. Yeah, it was all because of Mac.
That was the turn right there.
Yes.
It was because this old wise man, you know.
One relationship will change your life.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
It's true.
So let me ask you, let me back up a little bit, because I had some buddies that actually, or talked to some guys that actually had sub-2 loans when the crash hit up in Seattle, and had to make that phone call and say, hey, we're going to get foreclosed on, and we got to give you the house back. And these people are like, we sold it. Were you carrying any sub-2 notes at the time that you had to make that phone call? To them? No.
Nope.
Good. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. That's why I'm not a big sub-2 fan, especially in bubbly markets, because I could never make that phone call. I don't know what I would do. So
We've got
the people that
portfolio now.
We do have a couple on those, yeah.
But they're long term. They're in fantastic equity positions. So yeah, it's not,
and fantastic cash flow positions. And we've concentrated our holds in, like I mentioned, we didn't have the model before. Well, Mac and I both learned our lesson, and we have the same vision. And so it was very easy to create that model and stick to it, because there's 2 of us, and we don't have to worry about one of us getting, crazy idea without the other one, bringing us back down to reality and to focus on what our model actually is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, it's the old adage with real estate, you only get hurt if you have to sell. So, we're just super on purpose about, keeping our portfolio LTV in line, and good cash flow positions. So yeah, just, like I said, you go through that, and that's an expensive education, but man, you went through it, so now, and don't do the same thing again.
Totally. What's your guys' portfolio look like now? And what's your business look like now, 2020, 2019, 2020?
You want to take this, Mac?
Yeah, I'll chime in whenever. It's our portfolio. Like I said, we've got some different legs to the business. We've got buy and hold properties where, we typically have 20 to 25 properties in there, that are rentals for us. Some of them held as long as 10 years, and it's a mix of, we've got with traditional finance some subject tos. Then we have the brokerage piece where where we represent buyers and sellers. We've got a team and we're coming off our best year ever. So yeah, we've got good momentum there. The wholesaling, we've pulled back on that marketing, still calling through old leads and stuff, and then the fix and flip, which once again, we're having our best year there as well. So yeah, we typically have 4 to 5 properties in our fix and flip pipeline at any given time.
Since COVID started, has it changed anything for you guys in either of your businesses, your brokerage, your fix and flips, your portfolio? What shifted for you guys there?
I'll let Matt speak on the brokerage side. The wholesaling side, obviously, we've pulled back marketing, so we're not dealing with as much face to face. I think it's a conversation when we have to. How do you want to do this? You want to walk me through it on a Zoom call? Do you want me to come over and walk it? It's just whatever someone's preference is. But on the the investment side, not a whole lot's changed. The marketing piece, perhaps, when we go out and we may run it through a Matterport, so somebody can walk the property and not feel like they've got to go look at it. An investor can look at it. But I'll let Matt speak on the brokerage side.
Sounded like it cut out a little bit for me. So can you ask the question again, Elliot?
I was just asking across the different kind of channels you guys have, like your brokerage, your fix and flip, your buy and hold, like what's changed since COVID started? And any
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So on the brokerage side, like Max said, not a whole lot has really changed, other than we're not in the office very much at all. And we're usually going out to see clients and wearing masks, and if need be, do the video the video calls. I usually take the majority of the listings, and so I haven't had to do one where it was simply a Zoom feature of the house. People are pretty comfortable with me coming over, and I wear a mask and go walk through it with them. Plus, they want to meet me. And then on the buy side, we have had some that do the video walkthrough of houses, and I've actually bought houses without them, that have actually bought houses without ever stepping foot in them. Not just investors, but actually primary residents too, which is a little bit unique. And I think that would be specific for COVID on the primary resident side. But we always used to do video walkthroughs for our investor clients because a lot of them bought from out of state without ever setting foot in the home. Yeah, as far as that's really the only changes that we've had from COVID to now, unless I'm missing something, Mac.
In terms of the market, though, we had, when COVID first came out in March, we had a huge drop off in sales for about 7 or 8 weeks. It was just, somebody's texted me on our, it was a huge drop off for like 7 or 8 weeks. And Matt and I were like, nobody knew what this was going to look like. Right. So we were quick in trying to put together, some cash to be like, all right, how long are we going to have to ride this one out for? And, unfortunately, like I said, we don't want to, not looking to reboot it again. So it was, all right, let's play this a little conservative. We probably missed some great deals in that 6 or 7 weeks, but we were sleeping.
Yeah, that was the problem. We shut our marketing down because I was just getting a lot more angry. Like it seemed like people were getting more angry off of the marketing. And so we shut up marketing down for a while, and it just kind of put me in a bad spot. But yeah, it's really hard to, you just was so unsure, right, of what was going to happen.
Absolutely. And having gone through that again, you're like, you know what, we're in a pretty good position. We don't have to get all the deals. Let's get our fair share and still be able to sleep at night.
Sorry. No, I was just going to add that. Yeah, I think that's from the people we've interviewed, the people that have done the best through COVID are people that don't have to be in a rush and do a bunch of deals because they don't have, some people build a machine in a operation where they have to do a certain amount of deals in order to pay overhead, pay their employees. So that sounds like a good setup.
Yeah, no, that's a big challenge, I'm sure, for a lot. I mean, in the construction business, it was much the same. People had to take deals to, take contracts just to pay for equipment, to pay for overhead, to keep staff on. We've kind of figured out what we like to do, what we want our life to look like, right? And it's not being, a slave to something like that. It is, we love to travel. I've got my daughter's now 13. I said, you know what, we don't, like I said, need to get it all. We just want that balance in our lives. So I haven't pushed as hard as, potentially could, but man, you miss out on a lot when you're just grinding all the time, man. If I was young and single, it'd be a different story. But with the family and the daughter leaving the house in 5 years, you're like, I don't get that back.
Yeah. Yep. My partner in Vancouver, he's been doing this fixing and flipping, buying at the auctions for 25 years. And the one thing that I've really learned from him over the years is we don't press. Like even in 18, when the interest rates spiked and everything kind of hit the brakes a little bit, it was, we don't press. And so, cause you never know, especially on the fix and flip game, or if you're buying a fixer to turn into a rental, you never know. We had one deal this year that we had an extra $25K worth of expenses with sewer lines, oil tanks, and all this stuff. We still made 55 grand on the deal, but it's like, because we build in those margins and we never press. And I think so many people press when they don't need to, but because they have to, right? Because they have to pay overhead. Or I've talked to one of my Greg Lynch, he was on here a couple of weeks ago. He ended up losing like 40 grand on a deal because he needed to keep his crews rolling. So he just went and bought a deal at the auction, and then everything went wrong. You know what I mean? So it can
happen. And to your point, that press, I mean, when you've made a couple bucks, and you don't come from this scarcity, mindset, you don't have to press. You can remain a disciplined investor, and that's it. You still
not only that. Yeah, not only that, we have these different legs of the business that give us even more freedom with that, right? So we only lost one client, or only had one client lose their job during that first 3 months of COVID. And so we really only lost one deal in the cooker on the retail side. And the way that Mac and I have set everything up is the retail side basically pays for all the expenses of us individually, personally, and all the business expenses in itself. So our fix and flip, buy and hold business is simply there to just be reinvested and just to generate a way out, right? Our retirement, so to speak. But really, it's just for the financial freedom of that. And so we do not pull from that ever. In fact, we will usually just reinvest more money so we can do more deals at once. And so our choice is a lot different than a lot of other people's who just are in one branch of this, where they need those things, like you guys had said, a certain amount of deals each month in order to pay for everything else. We don't have that problem.
Yeah, no, that's, and don't get us wrong. In the beginning, it was a little tighter, but we remained disciplined and focused on our goal, adding to that rental portfolio. Because if whether you're wholesaling, fix and flipping, you're doing, getting a commission, you're only as good as that last one, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're reinvesting that and putting them in that to build that long-term wealth.
All right. And how do you guys divide up responsibilities between your 3-4 main kind of companies you guys have all under your one umbrella?
There's a little bit of, crossover, but Matt handles the retail brokerage side, he does 90% of our listings. And we both get on the weekly team call with the team on that. On the investment side, that is primarily me handling that. We do have some admin that they're, we've got a rock star in our admin position. So she helps a ton with the rental piece. In addition, she's our managing broker and handles that. I mean, she's awesome.
And transaction coordinator too for me and the other two agents.
If somebody's looking to hire, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
If somebody's looking to hire that position, and this is more of a personal question, because we're at a point where we're going to have enough rentals where we could possibly hire somebody in full time to manage a lot of our rentals and some of our admin stuff. Not wanting her salary, but what is a person like that that's a rock star? What do you normally would pay the salary like that for somebody down here? Like what's a rent, and how do you find that person? Because I think if people need help in that admin, certain levels, they need that person to really help keep the glue together, right?
I think a lot of it just depends on how much responsibility you're going to give them, right? And if you go through the interview, my best hires have come from, they're already working for somebody else doing, I don't go out there and, I just kind of, friends, family, people in the business. I was super lucky with my first hire. She had worked for a huge team within my brokerage, had left that team, was working in the brokerage for the brokerage, and just had a relationship with her, and it just ended up. I was the old, everybody was like, you need to go find yourself a Heather, and that was her name. So I hired Heather.
That's what everybody says, because my wife is that person. She's amazing. But like now we have a kid and we need to go find a Chrissy. Everybody says, I need a Chrissy. How do I find a Chrissy? Because my wife is amazing in so many ways. But
I one of the things, a lot of people err in is like, when they're hiring is they're looking, how little can I pay them? You want to create opportunity for that person, right? You're like, obviously it's got to make sense, but they'll only stay as long as you're providing opportunity. So that's what we've been super aware of that and trying what's important to her and anybody on our team and how do we create more opportunity if they want it.
And we've adjusted that compensation numerous times over the years. And so, and I'll be the first one to admit it. I've run through people that, are great people, but just aren't a fit for what I need. And so I'm not even the greatest person in hiring to talk to on that. But I do know that tying the compensation to every single win that the team receives has been flawless. So everybody knows that if there's a big win, there's not a flat fee that transaction management or anybody's making, right? They get a percentage of the deal. And so when it's a bigger win, it's a bigger win for them too. And that's been huge.
So your admin, like what's an example of that? So your admin gets a percentage of every deal then on the.
Yes. So a percentage of the, just say for the retail side, a commission earned, right? And so there's a percentage of the commission earned. And with our flips, since we run those on the sales side through the brokerage, that also is a commission earned. And so it's a percentage of the commission earned. So she technically gets it on the flips as well. And then in just processing the purchases for the flips, we don't always make a commission or anything on those. So there's a flat fee on purchasing a lot of the off market deals. But that would be the only exception. Plus she has a base.
He has a base for stuff that is not, is not related to the transactions, in terms of,
brokerage, books, stuff like that.
Marketing, any of that stuff. Yeah.
Marketing, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. That's my problem that I struggle with is I've lost sight of reality too much of what a normal wage is, just because we've been running, you get in this game and there's so much money, you start really doing well. And so you forget, like, my wife always yells at me because I always want to pay people too much, and then I pay them too much too quick. And then it sets improper expectations instead of building them up with those incentives over time. And that's always the problem that I've had.
Yeah, that is a challenge. I mean, everybody, most people need a base to just get through, right? So if that makes sense for you and you can provide that and then create incentives on top of that to take you, whatever, if you're doing, 5 deals a month and you want to go to 8 deals a month, and you can directly relate that to adding that person, they should certainly be incented on that. So yeah, I'd love to see everybody on the team make as much as they want, right? Provided the efforts there and they're improving our our company.
They also get the option of investing in any of our deals, even though they don't take as much us up on that opportunity as much as we'd like them to. We're also not going to push them or force their hand because there's comfort levels on risk and money to invest, right? But we do have that option for them, and that's not common on a lot of teams to have that. That's just an added benefit.
Yeah, I did that with one of our guys. He quit this year, but he worked for me for 2 years. He had the option to invest it at 10%. It didn't have a ton. So even if it was $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, I would, on a certain deal, I would treat him like a lender. He would have, a note written up and he would get 10%, if he wanted to invest in that deal, 10%, just so they could have money working. And then they're incentivized too on making the deal work, cutting costs, or making sure everything's done in a timely manner as well.
Sure.
On you guys' wholesale side, do you guys have like an acquisition guy that's full-time on that end, or what does that look like?
Prior to Matt and I getting together, we did. Right now it's only me. So, and actually Matt sources a lot through realtors, but when we were running, when we were doing mailers or AdWords campaigns, that was me. I would take those calls, and I prefer the AdWords because, it's a little less brain damage than texts and phone call and yellow letters. And so, the number of people you have to call through to get a deal is much lower. And it's easy for me. Like if I'm out of town, I spend 2 months in New York in the summer, and, up there, my daughter's going to camp, we're on the lake, and I'm not looking to take a lot of calls. So we just shut down the AdWords campaigns. So it's easy to turn on and off. There's not a lot of trickle that comes in from that, like you do off of phone calls and letters. And so it's just a choice that we make to keep that life balance. But, I've had a couple of real bad hires for acquisition.
Yeah.
It just hasn't worked out.
It's a tough position to hire, I think, because I have a wholesale operation, and like my partner for a long time was our top sales guy, and he's owns half the company now, but it's a really, really tough position to find. We'll find a good guy, but then that guy won't be as ethical and we'll find a really ethical guy that won't be as good. It's just a hard position to hire.
Oh, it is, absolutely. And you're always like, you're amazed, like you see all these marketing dollars going out and you get no deals coming in, or they're crap deals or whatever. You're like, oh man, I got to take it back up, because you feel like I just spent 30 grand on a mailer last week. Now I got to jump in there just to get my money back, So
it's brain damage is a good way to describe it, like you said.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's if I think we've just kind of made the decision that let's do what makes. And right now the fix and flips biting off, running 4 or 5 of those at a time and adding to the rental portfolio is making more time than hammering away at wholesale deals for us. And everybody's unique, I guess, and what their commitment, to the wholesale, because you got to be on them. It's a lot of money to pull in a deal. I mean, our pay-per-click stuff runs, to get a deal, $3 to $4 grand per deal.
I think that's a good segue too. You kind of talked about how you guys like to run that lean. I think a lot of my buddies in real estate right now, the ones that are successfully and scaling more through COVID, they've kind of leaned down everything. So do you guys have a vision for the next year or 2 years? Do you guys want to expand your brokerage a lot? Or are you guys kind of happy keeping everything lean? What is your plan there?
I think we would like to grow by a little. Not, we like it lean. I mean, we've got a good group and we've had a couple of people in and out, and you got to be super careful when you've got a fantastic group of bringing the wrong person in there, because, it can poison the well quick. But yeah, I think we'd like to grow the brokerage side a bit and continue to add to our rental portfolio. I think that's been the focus is growing that rental portfolio right now while there's cheap money out there. And
yeah. Have you guys been doing any refis? We're slamming 8 refis through on all our singles and doubles right now, and the rates are stupid.
Crazy.
We got some of them on our lower dollar with high equity, like 2.625 30-year rate and term refis, 2.825 cash out refi on a duplex. We got 3.25 with cash out. That's
crazy. No, it's unbelievable deal.
It's free money, because if you inflate it, it's free money.
Yeah, and the other thing we've been doing is to maximize, put as much leverage on. Let me kind of preface that we still pay attention to our LTVs, overall LTVs, but we're trying to put more leverage on the ones that we're buying. So we're buying them and putting 100% financing on them. In the beginning, we weren't able to do that. Now we can get our private guys to give us 100% money, and we can go in and just put whatever we're going to do to polish it up, and then go pull put a conventional loan on it and pull a bunch of our money back out. So it's not as cash intensive, and we can build the portfolio a little bit quicker.
What are your cash out, or when you go pull your cash out, what rate? Because I know in the duplexes, they just made us do 70. They could only do 70. What are they letting you pull out on the cash out refi on the singles?
75. Yeah. And you can, I imagine you can take it up to 80, but the rates start to suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of ours are to 75 if we were to do that, but we usually keep an LTV below that for our holds.
Our portfolio LTV is about 55% right now.
Yeah, that's kind of where
for the portfolio, it's about 55%. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
and
safe.
What's that?
Very safe, very safe, and
the cash flow is great too, right? So even if values went, we dropped 45%, the cash flow is still there. It's got to be something catastrophic, and but I feel like we're pretty well insulated.
Also the strategy in buying these, Mac had said before that we have a couple of subject twos that we still keep on our portfolio, and the reason is that we get people to do that, explain to them. We use a third-party title company to run the payments through and all that, so they feel secure with us doing it. We have them all on auto pay. The upside to do that is that we can actually pay a little bit more for each property if we know that they're 10, 12, 15 years into a 30-year note, because that principal reduction each month is drastically higher than it is years 1 through 5, and that increases our rate of return on that. And so that's an important thing to understand if you're going to get into this business, is how you can add value for yourself and the person you're buying it from at the same time. And that's one of those big wins that not a lot of people utilize right now. I don't know if they can't sell it, or if they're not selling it properly, or if they don't even know to look for it. So it's just it's actually made deals happen that otherwise wouldn't happen.
Or they want to get the seller may want to make a couple more bucks, so you can go in there and offer them a little bit more. Say, hey, I could offer you this. Are you willing to? What do you think about this? And if we do this, we can throw an extra $5,000 in the offer.
Yeah, that's actually really smart, and I haven't thought about it that way with because you pay, like you said, the first 5 years, even up to 7. I mean, that's the mortgage business is smart. I mean, people always look, oh, it's a 30-year note, but then they sell their house every 5 to 7 years. Well, they're actually just paying interest the whole friggin' time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they don't realize it's all front loaded. So if you
and a lot of them refi every 2 to 5 years anyway, right? And so they're restarting their payment cycle again. And so it's one of those things that
and paying more loan fees, whether they realize they're paying more loan fees or not, either stroking a check or getting it wrapped in the loan. It's just, and this obviously in this climate with the interest rates dropping like they have, it really lends itself to, man, I can go get refi. Just did it 12 months ago. I'm going to go again, But.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. You guys are in Guru, Central. You guys got all of them here. This is like, I don't know what
it's in soul of Guru.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what's in the water down here, but it's freaking Lamborghinis, Gurus, and big checks. How do you guys, alleged big checks, right?
Yeah.
Alleged. How do you guys navigate? Because it sounds like you guys have, what we've heard is you built it up, lost everything, and then built it up again and just found a way to be successful and not only just have a good business, but also have a good lifestyle and be good fathers, be good family men, be able to be do a Zoom at 10:30 in the morning. How do you guys feel like the competition is down here? How do you guys navigate with, there's always a seminar or somebody coming into this market screwing it up?
Yeah, it's interesting because it really is Guru Central. You're right, and for anybody that operates in the Phoenix market, they understand that any time a new idea comes out or a new info sales, a new seminar, whatever, we know because people are getting blown up on the phones left and right. And it's the same thing with real estate agents. We have a glutton of real estate agents here too. So I'm not sure what the average is now, but probably 3 to 6 deals per active agent. But if you actually look at all the active agents, it's less than 2 per year that it could average out to of licensees, I should say. Because I think whether they're like 65,000, 70,000 licensees, Mac. Yep. And then we're running around 100,000 MLS sales a year. So I mean, do the math. That's it's crazy competitive. So even if you cut those agents in half, it's still crazy competitive on the retail side. And then on the wholesale side, just as bad, like equally as bad, because you have every Tom, Dick, and Harry coming out on the phones doing exactly what they said in the seminar and not really knowing how to make that deal work. And so somebody else will either take it over or the deal dies or something happens. And one that was a potential deal is now off the table.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Or they're just putting a poor offer on it out of the gate, right? Setting a seller expectation. I think one of the things that we had to do when, we got into it, we're like, holy smokes, they all didn't really bump, I knew a lot of the acquisition guys, from these gurus and, didn't bump heads as often as you would think with them, but did bump heads with a lot of their students, right? So it was kind of, how do we separate ourselves from them? So, then, all right, let's create some literature to give to our seller, to create some credibility, a credibility packet, if you will, and then show them, hey, we're actually closing deals. If we like the deal enough, we'll put our money up, non-refundable now. Ask your guy out there if he'll do the same thing. And just being well scripted, right? That guy you're talking to right now, I'm going to be his next call. He's going to try to sell his deal to me. So
that's a scripting thing, but that which is fantastic because Mac is a master on the phones. And so it's interesting with the what the non-refundable earnest money conversation is. sight unseen, hey, look, is it worth your time for, $3,000 no matter what for 10 days, right? And by the way, we're going to close on that property because we got the price that we wanted and we're going to give them the terms that they want. Being flexible with the terms and being creative with the terms is also another avenue that we use all the time, subject to just being one of those ways, right? But we've had clients that I think the longest one we've had actually stayed in the house for, was it 6 months or was it a year unpaid?
Yeah, it was a year.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so being able to be flexible with that and create a deal that we know is going to work is, and then just creates a solution for them on that off market side.
Yeah,
So,
it's very similar to the retails, right? When you go into a listing appointment, tell me what a perfect sale looks like for you, in terms of timing it, how do we, that's what we're here for, is to make your life easy. That's, we're about solutions. That's why we earn the money. So it wasn't a big shift because that was my background, was retail, right? Going on listing appointments and then into wholesale. It was, it's about, serving your customer. How do you, and they know this we're buying at a discount. We still got to make money, but we still are trying to, give you the easy button. So tell us what what those rate and term, or not rate and terms, but terms and price looks like. And if we can meet it, fantastic. If not, we'll tell you where we can be and come together. Let's go ahead.
Relationships also, I was going to say relationships are the way to go through this. And so we've both been, we've kept in touch and had good reputations with all the other real estate agents, and really anybody that we come in contact with. We're very good at keeping in touch with those contacts, knowing that every person, even if they can be viewed from the outside as a competitor, aren't actually a competitor. They actually help us. Mac mentioned earlier how we get a lot of our deals from other agents. It's because we had very good relationships and still do have very good relationships with them. And they know that if there is an off-market situation, that they're not going to take a property to market, that they have us as an investor. We will make them look good. We will never cut them out of a deal, and we will treat their clients right. And so that is a competitive edge that I think is very underestimated, especially in this market.
Yeah, I think the good thing about times like 2008 were that it kind of wipes out a lot of the, we're talking about how many agents and new seminar guys that come out doing the same thing. It kind of wipes that crowd out.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think
we're back now.
Yeah, no. I think not you
come
guys.
back with a vengeance.
I think that the legit guys bounce back from times like that, but I think it's enough of a blow to most people who are just kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, which I think COVID is for a lot of people too. It forces people to decide if they're going to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out or not, at least for like newer agents and stuff, because it's a lot harder, especially in Seattle where I'm from, where you can't do open houses or anything right now. It's a lot harder as a newer agent. So yeah, I mean, it's and another bad downside of the whole seminar industry is you get these sellers that you guys are talking to, you guys are experienced, you know what you're doing, but they've worked with 4 different wholesalers by that point that have offered them 10% more than their house is worth, even retail, and they've been screwed over and told they're going to be they thought they're going to move, now they're not. So it kind of paints the whole industry.
Yeah, no question.
And
I would love to see some of these stuff. Go ahead.
Were you guys wholesaling before 2008?
No.
Okay, so it wasn't really a thing. So I mean, I'm guys that I talked to that were doing it before kind of 2016. It was a lot easier because it was you had a reputation of, oh, you guys are just, it's a different form of being an agent, but now it's like you guys are car salesmen pretty much.
Yeah.
So I know you talked about how you guys get around that, but how has it changed, like pre that whole seminar phase of, it was like 2016, 2015 until I feel like it became like Guru Central down here versus
Well, that's about when we got into it. It was 2015, 2016. Right? And so
you guys went to the seminar? What seminar did you guys go to? Cody Sperber?
No. Actually, the first one I went to was Sean Terry's.
Oh, I like that guy.
Freedom. Yeah, he seems like
Hook to Freedom. And then we ended up out of there. We had been doing some, wholesaling, just figured out how to do it, right? We'd done a couple of deals. I said, Sean Terry's here. Let's go do it. It's a quick, they give you the little taster, get you in, then they try to ring you up on the coaching, right? So it's, but we ended up diving in heavy and joining their, top level, boardroom with Sean and Kent Clothier and some, I don't know if you guys know Rob Hader and Jonathan Rankin, Joe Taylor.
I know John Rankin. I know those guys. I know Jonathan Rankin. Joe Taylor.
Yeah. So there was about 20 of us in the initial group, and it was really, really valuable. And I think I shared with you earlier. I said it's, you invest in yourself. But I felt like when I got into these things, got some education, but the biggest piece of it was those relationships, right? Now I've got relationships that aren't Phoenix centric. I can call, a guy in Indy or Jacksonville or St. Louis and say, hey, what do you guys, because I feel like still there's people that hold stuff tight to the vest in your market, but they don't care if I'm calling, what are you guys doing? How you getting through this? But that was, so yeah, to answer your question, all I know about pre 2015, 2016 is exactly what you said. They said it wasn't quite as muddied. I would love to see some of these gurus teach a little bit more about doing right by the client, because I never want
business.
I would never want to leave a client in a worse position. Many of these clients are in a bad spot as it is. So
they got guys teaching people, go tie it up, whatever the price is. I've had 3 or 4 calls this year from sellers that I got my letter and they signed up with other wholesalers and they're like, hey, I'm supposed to close tomorrow. And these guys are trying to ding me with like a 20% price reduction. And I'm like, fine, we'll close it tomorrow. Tell them that. And they're, it's like, then all of a sudden they come in and they close on it. But it's crazy. The one thing I want to step back to, which we started implementing this year or last year, was the non-refundable, no inspection, no assignment, because we flip basically all our properties. So we'll go in there with $10,000 or $20,000. It doesn't matter at the end of the day what we're putting down, because we're going to buy it we're going to buy it. So we'll put $10,000 non-refundable down on signing as soon as we walk that property. No inspections, no assignments. You want 7 days? Great. You want 2 days? Great. You want 3 months? Great. No problem. But, and work on their terms. You want to leave it like you with all your stuff here? Great. No problem. But that I have beaten out so many people. And I preface the same way you do. I say, okay, just so you know, I know you're going to probably call some other people. Here's the thing. If they can't match my terms, you have to ask yourself, can they actually close? Just ask them, say, hey, okay, I know your offer is maybe more, but I need some non-refundable earnest money. I need no inspections. And I can't have an assignment in that contract. Because if you're telling all these guys say we're cash buyers, they're telling you you're a cash buyer. And then I also send them a bank, my screenshot with my, bank proof of funds. So I can close on this. Here's my money. I can close.
We'll send them a list of the tax rolls. Here are the properties we own. We buy property. Ask your guy if he's buying properties.
Yeah. So that works not all the time, but it does, work a majority of the time.
Well, you're just looking for a competitive advantage, right? So it's you got to use what you have. I'm sure everybody else is doing the same.
Yeah. So how do you guys? I know we talked a little bit about how you guys divide responsibilities, but why don't you guys speak to? It seems like you guys have a very good partnership. Why don't you speak more on the personal business relationship and how you guys view a good partnership and how you guys make it work between you guys, whether there's, if you've got some arguments here, or how you guys deal with, adversity, or how you guys deal with decisions and just build that relationship.
Go ahead, Matt.
Mac loves to hear me talk good things about him. So I'll go for it.
Oh yeah. Us sales guys have no ego, right?
No.
So yeah, I think just to your point, what makes a good partnership. So Mac and I are both like-minded, and I'll expand on that a bit. One of the biggest things is that from day one, we've had the same vision, which is we like what we do. We're committed to being great at what we do, but we really love our families and we love to travel, and the only way to satisfy those two top priorities is with time. And so what gets us time, this is a means to an end to buy all of our time back. And so when we go back into the business, that it strictly is to feed the things that are the most important to us. So building the business, you had mentioned, you want to expand the brokerage or expand the wholesale business. Well, only to the point to which it doesn't ruin what we already have, and that it's on point with our vision, which is time with our families and those that we care about. And so that's why we don't take any money out of the fix and flip business. Is why we keep on reinvesting that money. And if we have a great year on the brokerage side, we put more money into the fix and flip and buy and hold business, because that's our goal, right? And we're both very, very clear on that. As far as arguments, like there's no fights. It's simply an argument on if a property is good enough, and it's not even really considered an argument, right? It's more of, let's look at it. You play devil's advocate, and let's run through the deal if we don't automatically both agree on it. And he'll pick things on a property that I missed sometimes, and I'll pick some things that he missed sometimes. But ultimately, that's only like 10 to 15% of the deals. Usually we're on the same page from the first minute. So we're super fortunate that we have that relationship, and that our team understands that too, goes a long way with them.
Nice. Are you guys friends outside
of Matt? Whoops, I said anything to add, Mac?
No, I think it's well put. I think we've, there's obviously, in any relationship, there's compromise, right? There's some stuff, I'm not 100 on, but we've got a deep trust in each other, right? In doing what's right. Not only, a business decision, but ethically, right? Morally. So that goes along way. And our whole team's that way, right? I feel like I could give anything to anybody on my team and they would treat it like I would treat it.
Awesome. Now, are you guys friends outside of work, or outside of the business too? Do you guys family do stuff together? You guys travel together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I think that's important too.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah, because it's almost like now all of a sudden when you become a partnership, it's like you are family, right? And so like I'm always looking out for my family. That's, I take, you guys all want to take care of your family, and then all of a sudden Matt's family becomes your family and vice versa, right, Mac?
Absolutely.
And our team members too.
Yeah, our team members the same way. Yeah, they're all part of it.
How many days did you travel last year, Matt?
Well, I had my first child last year at the end of the year. So I only got about I think it was 67 days last year. Mac had me beat. But usually before last year, hey Presley, before last year, I was exceeding 100 days every single year.
Nice. Same with you, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got one big one, and we sprinkle several others throughout the year. We go to New York, upstate New York, and Lake George in the Adirondacks, and we spend 2 months up there every summer.
That's awesome.
Were you born in New York? You kind of.
No, I was actually born in Phoenix, but only here short term. Then lived in San Diego until I was 10, and then New York City for a little bit, and then we moved upstate. Graduated high school in upstate New York, and came back out to Arizona State, and been here since.
Awesome. Cool, guys. Well, I think we've got it. You guys got any last, like if somebody's listening to this that's newer, we've been talking a lot that this game is shifting from a hobby business to it's a business. Guys that are going to succeed are going to run this as a business. You have any last, like both of you guys maybe separately, like if you're doing like just you by yourself and maybe one team member, what would you say would take you to the next level? What would you do to take you to the next level?
Man, I think, I don't know, depending on what your model is, actually does. I'd be a mindset thing, right? It's there's a big real estate guy down here, and used to go listen to him quite often, and a lot of respect for him, built a great business, but he's one of those guys that said, you got to be it before you can have it, so because you got to think it in your head, then go do it, and then you'll have it. So he said, just be clear on what you want. And I think that's helped us. This is, what do we want our life to look like? And so we've kind of built our business around what we want it to look like.
Yeah, that's that the mindset is so huge, and I know it's reiterated over and over again, and it's not something that's like for people that want something that's like actionable right now. It's a tough thing to do, and so I'll give them one more on that. the other thing that's enabled us to do what we do and be where we are is that we also are both very fiscally responsible. So our overheads really haven't changed, right? The only thing that really increases on our overhead each year outside of the business, right? Business is calculated risk. You up marketing here, up marketing there, or reduce it based on what you're experimenting with. I'm talking about personal finances as well. So you mentioned, Elliot, you mentioned the the Lamborghinis and the big houses and whatever that, the perceived checks, right? We both drive used cars. We drive them into the ground. We love a deal, and that deal is not just real estate deals, it's on everything. So we're looking to get a good deal on anything major that we buy. We're not going to be splitting hairs over 5, 10, 20 bucks because it's not worth our time to do it. But if we're gonna save 20 grand by buying used over new, then we're gonna do that. We have our net worth sheet, our personal financial statements. We constantly are reviewing, making sure that those numbers aren't out of whack, and just to let everybody know what this does for you is that if you keep lean and you keep your overhead low and it's manageable, when you have these big months, you have more money to invest. And so you will get to your goal a lot quicker if you're able to put that money aside and just stay focused. And we want great things as well, right? I would love to have a $5 million house, on the mountain of PV looking out over things, but I'm just not willing to sacrifice. I don't want that more than my time. So,
man, go back and listen to that again,
Yeah,
guys. That is, anybody can do that right now, no matter where you're at, and learn to live below your means. And I know it's hard sometimes in this business. You're starting making $20, $30, $40,000 checks. You're like, oh, what's a couple grand here? What's this here? An extra $200 or payment. So easy, but man, that is wisdom right there. Definitely. So
Good stuff. Yeah.
thank you guys very much for this opportunity too. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out and doing this.
yeah. So how can we support you? I know you guys are Good Company Real Estate. You're based in Gilbert, but you're all over
Tempe.
the valley. Tempe. I'm sorry, Tempe. You're all over the valley. I was in Gilbert yesterday. I got to figure out these towns. You're based in Tempe, but you can help. You guys have buyer's agents. So I know a lot of people are moving to Phoenix, Scottsdale, or, how can we support you and our listener base supports you and help you guys grow and get more time freedom?
I'll let Mac talk on the investment side, but on the retail side, buyers, sellers, investors, if you're looking for property, we are valley-wide. So Maricopa County is essentially where 99% of our business is serviced, and we represent you well in all parts of the valley. So that could definitely help us. Anybody buying, selling, or looking for investment properties themselves.
Yeah, and if you're a realtor, we do pay competitive referral fees. So and I guess on the investment side, same thing. If you've got a relationship with anybody who may be looking for that easy button cash as is on their terms, we can send them our way. We'll take good care of them.
And you'll work with wholesalers too. You'll buy deals from wholesalers. You say you're going to do something, you do it. So if guys are looking to offload deals, you can. If you're down in this area, I would highly recommend, go hustling and, sending these guys some stuff. I know when I met them, they've been just seem like great guys to work with, and they do what they say they're going to do. So, all right, guys.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys.